Stephen, who are some names of some guys that have caught the attention of the Buckeyes this spring?
Obviously, yeah, it starts with C.J. Stroud and Kyle McCord and Jack Miller in that that ever-going quarterback battle. It's interesting, especially with Jack Miller and C.J. Stroud, being in the program for a year. It's seeing them and how much more physically built they look than they did last year. C.J. Stroud looked like Justin Fields' little brother last year. He doesn't quite look like that anymore. He looks like an actual college quarterback now, and the same with Jack Miller. And then obviously you've got Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. Those are probably the two best wide receivers in the country. But now they've got a third guy who might, as along with those three musketeers, and that's going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba. He'll move into the slot, allowing Garrett to move back outside. I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a guy to watch from a breakout perspective. Obviously, everything starts with Garrett and Chris, but as teams are scheming up and being so prepared to worry about those two guys, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba might be able to make some noise this year. And then obviously running back TreVeyon Henderson, who has just had the J.K. Dobbins name thrown on him since the moment he got here. He didn't play football last year because Virginia moved his football season to the spring, so he enrolled early. The number one running back in the country, that's a guy to keep an eye on as we head into the season, especially that Minnesota game where, if you remember, in 2017, J.K. Dobbins, as a true freshman, went up to Indiana in a Thursday night primetime game and had 181 rushing yards, and that's how Ohio State met J.K. Dobbins. I think TreVeyon Henderson might be in for a similar type of performance when we get to that Minnesota game on Thursday on September 2nd. And then on the defensive side of the ball, really just a refresh secondary, whether it's Cam Martinez and Lathan Ransom in the slot, whether it's Sevyn Banks becoming the number one corner and showing up on first round NFL mock draft, whether it's Cam Brown coming off an injury or Ryan Watts, who flashed a lot this spring. I think you're going to see a much better secondary, especially now that Kerry Combs is in year 2 as a defensive coordinator, and they got to go through a normal spring where things weren't interrupted by COVID.
It sounds like Ryan Day and that offense is pretty good, and Buckeyes fans shouldn't worry about all the talent that's left, because there's plenty there to replenish, is what you're saying.
Yeah, on offense, I don't think Ohio State fans need to worry about Ohio State offense until Ryan Day leaves. And whether that's tomorrow or that's 25 years from now, here are two things that are always going to be true about Ohio State. They're going to have an elite level quarterback who is at a Heisman level by the end of the season. When we get to that Michigan game, there's going to be a ridiculous amount of wide receiver talent that's always going to replenish itself, even as guys, leave, whether for the NFL or through the transfer portal. And that quarterback's going to be well protected by an offensive line, and there's going to be an elite running back. And then on defense, obviously, as long as Larry Johnson is here, there's going to be first-round NFL defensive ends, whether it's Chase Young or Nick Bosa in the past. Obviously, Zach Harrison would probably be up next, and Tyreek Smith. And then you've got true freshman right here from Columbus, Ohio, Jack Sawyer, who has been baby Bosa since he was 15 years old. So the one thing you don't have to worry about with Ohio State is talent. Only thing you really have to worry about is if it's able to come together, and is it enough to beat teams like Alabama and Clemson.